Welcome everybody, my name is François Letarte and this is my channel JDR D30, a channel about tabletop role-playing games. Today I'm going to do a review of a game that I really love. It's very special for me. It's the game I'm running right now with my group, and it was quite a discovery for me in recent years. So what is this game? This game is Advanced Fighting Fantasy. So just to show you the cover. What is Advanced Fighting Fantasy? Advanced Fighting Fantasy is a high fantasy game that takes place in the world of the Fighting Fantasy game books. Those books, if you don't know what they are, was a series that started in the 80s. It was solo role-playing games, a choose-your-own-path kind of books, where you created your character, and while reading the book you have a choice to make to go into the story, challenges to face, and some monsters to fight. Your character may die during the read, or you may succeed. And every time you read that book, the book may be different because every time you can choose different options while you're reading it. One example of the books they had back then was this one, The Warlock at Firetop Mountain. In French here, Le Sorcier de la Montagne de Feu. That is an example. And for me, the game Advanced Fighting Fantasy is special because back in the 80s, before I got into role-playing games, I was a huge fan of the Fighting Fantasy and the Sorcery series, which is related. And I was reading them all. For me it was the big deal, and it was in fact very hype at the time. Many people were reading that, and after some times I got into role-playing games and put aside a little game books while putting my energy into role-playing games. But during all those years, once in a while I was reading one because it's kind of a first love, and yeah, my heart will always be with these kind of books. And recently in the net I've discovered this game while surfing the net. This game, when I saw it, I bought it because it was for me, for the nostalgia, and I'm being curious about how they put the Fighting Fantasy game books into a role-playing game. This game is the second edition, so there has been in the past some other editions of this game, and I've bought it, and I first read it, and it was a huge blast for me. Yes, I really discovered a great game here. More than I could expect from a game, and right now it's my favorite game. So I'll make with you I will do a kind of a walkthrough of this book right now. So well, what is Fighting Fantasy as a mechanic? Mechanically it's a very simple system, as simple as it was in the game books. How it works in general, when you want to try, you have a test to make, an action to make or something like that, you take 2d6 and you roll the dice. If it is an unopposed test, well, you have to score equal or less than your skill plus special skill score. For example, your hero has 6 skill and has 2 in climbing. So if he wants to climb, he has to be 8 or under to succeed. For opposed test, well, instead of being equal or less, you simply add to your skill and special skill, and your opponent does the same thing. So the higher scores win. And mechanically, that mechanics, I really like that. For me it's quite elegant. It's a mechanic. Well, you don't have to bother in with target numbers or things like that. Just with the numbers you have on your sheet, you have everything to know if it is a success or a failure. Bonuses or penalties may be applied with the situation, but basically it's very easy. And that system is shown in the first few pages of that book. Yes, you see the post-it. Yeah, it's very gorgeous. The first few pages, it's kind of the quick start of the game. It explains the system, how combat works a little, and you have a small adventure, kind of a dungeon. The kind of dungeon you may find in the Fighting Fantasy game books with many monsters, but with the friendly tavern in the center. Yeah, that's a style, and some pre-generated characters. So you may start playing Fighting Fantasy right away. And saying that, that part of the book you can have it freely on Drive-Thru RPG. It's Advanced Fighting Fantasy Quick Start. So you may already check out about how it works in general. After that, in the book, we have character creation, which is point by. In the game books, it was a random creation, but in Fighting Fantasy, it's point by. But before putting the points into your attributes and skills, you have to think about a concept, and this is a very important thing here, because there's not much basic attributes, not as much as games we're used to. So the concept will tell many things about how your character is, and the concept, if you are true to your concept while playing, you will play accordingly to what you have described. For example, you want to create a strong barbarian, so he will be strong. You will behave as a strong guy, and as a game master, you will follow that. You want to be a scholar, well, you'll be intelligent. That's it. Probably you will choose skills accordingly to that, but the way you will play it, it will come by itself. You can, since it's fantasy, you can be a human, elf, or dwarves. There are guidelines to make them, but you can go further than that. You can make any humanoid races as you like. There are guidelines to create them later in the book. So there are 4 basic attributes to put points in, which are skill. Skill is kind of the proficiency of the general proficiency of your character, how good he is in doing his stuff. Stamina, which are the health, the hit points. Luck, well, it's for the lucky matters. It speaks for itself. And if you want to cast spells, you have a magic attribute, which will give you magic points to cast your spell with it. After that, you have some special skills you may buy to make your character more precise, and that's where we're going off from the game books. The game books were only having skill, stamina, luck, and maybe magic. And in the role-playing game, to make that a role-playing game with unique characters, you have the special skills, and you also have talents that you may buy. Talents are kind of feats. It looks like feats in Dungeons and Dragons, and you equip your character, make a background and name, all the such, and after that you're ready to go to adventure. After that, in the book, we have more precise rules about everything. These are guidelines. You can fudge everything in Advanced Fighting Fantasy, since the rules are so light. So there are guidelines, and which are very well made. That game makes sense in general. Every rule, are easily applicable, but it's also easy to just get them out and do it your own way, and it won't screw the game. It won't screw the balance of the game. There are combats, of course. Combats are very deadly, but there's something here. You can, at the start of a fight, it's almost impossible to kill someone with one blow. Like sometime in real life it could be, but that's a high fantasy game, so you don't try to search the reality here. It's high fantasy, but the combats are deadly. I've played a lot of game, and I could see that your stamina may go down very rapidly. The combat system is quite interesting. It's oppose test, and the winner of the round does damage. That's it, and the damage of the weapon are it's quite interesting too. You have a chart with numbers from 1 through 7, and you roll a d6 to determine which column of your damage chart you take. For the 7, since you can't have 7 on the d6, in some circumstances you can reach 7. So the combat, it's fast and furious, as the game book, but with more precise thing to make combat more lively and more applicable to role-playing games.